a happy Saturnalia here on the Weekly Woo Woo. So as we do every week, let's talk some woo woo. Saturnalia is actually considered one of the first Christmases that occurred in ancient Rome around 217. And as usual, it was a pagan holiday that was co-opted by Christianity, which is a very similar thing that's happened with Halloween, it happened with Easter, it happens with a lot of them. So we're going to dive kind of a little deeper into that this week and talk about how Christmas is actually, again, a pagan holiday that has been a little bit co-opted by Christianity to bring in all those heathens on board. So yes, as we just mentioned, Happy Saturnalia, that is a pagan holiday. It also was another one to bring in the pagans, they took over their Yule. It's called Yule. There was a Yule log, Yule trees, they would decorate them. They would bring pieces of the forest into their house during the long winter months after the harvest, and they would celebrate that. They're also, which I found very interesting, a thing about a little bit of depression. So they use that as kind of a festive time to kind of keep people from being really depressed during the darkest time of the year, which is the winter solstice, which Lauren is going to dive actually deeper into that as well as we move forward. But then we start moving into kind of the Santa Claus ideas and how you actually have the spirit of Yule, which is kind of an older gentleman in the Santa Claus, and he would leave little pieces in the stockings for the kids. You also have Saint Nicholas, which is a actual Christian saint, which is how we again get Christianity onto this in this story. He was a saint out of Greece that would go around and giving the young kids that were running around the street, they would help them out a little bit. And so that's where we kind of got the old friendly man giving away gifts during this time. We also, as Lauren has mentioned, there is a shamanistic element to this the Santa Claus and gift giving and all of this as well.
There is. Coming out of Russia and Siberia, there are tales of shamans who would traditionally dress in red suits with white fur all around them. Obviously, it's a cold climate. They need it all to keep them warm. And what they would do is they would go out into the forest and they would find special mushrooms. Yes, I do mean those type of special mushrooms that only grew at the base of pine and fir trees. And it was very important the shamans did this because obviously if you get the wrong mushrooms, you die. So they would go out and they would collect these mushrooms, and then on the winter solstice, they would leave them for people inside of their houses on fir trees because they dried the shrooms themselves on the tree branches overnight.
Oh, wow.
And we also have the origins of the chimney story showing up here because often people's homes would be so snowed in that there was no way to get through the door. You had to just come through the smokestack chimney.
Drop that mushroom right through the chimney. So we're pretty much pulling from almost every culture for this Christmas mythology of Santa Claus and gift giving, which I think is fascinating. We don't really get to the big night before Christmas story until the big poem came out in the 1800s with 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, where we actually named the reindeer. That was the first time the reindeer actually had names. So I think that's very fascinating considering it's such a staple these days. And then one of the most interesting things that I read about all of this and how we've kind of all been co-opted is the ads that have come out. I actually was reading that Coca-Cola, the ad in 1933 is how we actually got the Santa Claus with the big white beard and the red and white suit and all of that. That's one of the ways how it really stuck with that big marketing push is from a Coca-Cola ad, which is why he is considered the icon of the holiday now, is from that ad. And it actually matched the Coke can, which is why those are the colors.
I completely believe that. And have you heard the Coca-Cola polar bears from that same, their series of ads are now going to have their own movie?
Of course they are. Of course they are. Everyone gets their own movie eventually. One day soon, Lauren, you and I will get our own movie.
Only if we're as cute as fuzzy polar bears.
Maybe. All right. Well, so that's kind of just a really brief background of what's going on for this holiday. It's always a very fun time to be with friends and family, and we always really enjoy that. There's always sometimes a little bit of tension or some really great times. For more Weekly Woo Woo, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to us on emPOWERme.tv.